English Planet. Appunti di inglese, a cura di Nicholas Youldon.
Good evening, you're listening to Internet Radio, Radio Dreamland, webcasting from Piedmont in northern Italy. This is English Planet, a show which tries to teach a little bit of English for students of English, whether Italian or around the world, including a sort of listening comprehension where you can listen to events or news from the world of the invisible. Your presenter this evening, as usual, is Nick Youldon. Okay, let's start this week with a quick test of your English ability. Let's just have a little practice at recognizing, understanding words from their definitions. For example, I'm going to give you 7 descriptions, and you have to tell me or think or say the corresponding word. I will give you the number of letters in each word to help you. Number 1. A vehicle for 4 passengers. A vehicle for 4 passengers. A word with 3 letters. Definition number 2. Something to sit on. Something to sit on. A word with 5 letters. Definition number 3. A place to go and eat. A place to go and eat. A word with 10 letters. Definition number 4. This comes from India. You can drink it. It may be black or green. This comes from India. You can drink it. It may be black or green. A word with 3 letters. Definition number 5. It can fly. It can sing. It can sit in a tree. It can fly, it can sing, it can sit in a tree. A word with 4 letters. Definition number 6. It's green, you can walk on it, it grows in the garden. It's green, you can walk on it, it grows in the garden. A word with 5 letters. Definition number 7. It's a drug some people smoke for fun. It's a drug some people smoke for fun. A word with 5 letters. Please pay attention because definition number 7 is a little bit of a joke, a trick. Remember, we're not far away from the 1st of April. But to help you, when you're thinking about question definition number 7, keep thinking also about definition number 6. Don't forget that this little game we've just played is not difficult if it's in written English, if you can sit and look at the words and the definitions. But listening on the radio in this manner is more difficult. It is a test of your ability to respond quickly, to identify and find words very quickly. This is a test of memory and use of your memory. In particular in English, which is a language containing a huge number of different terminologies, including a large number of synonyms. That means different alternative words to say the same thing. Obviously your ability to use words, to use terminologies and vocabulary, and to memorize and find words is very important. English has a lot of terminologies for two main reasons. One is that modern English is used all over the world, and it easily accepts new terminologies, new developments. But also English over the last 2,000 years of development has grown, has been developed on different languages, on Latin, on French and on German. So there are a lot of duplications of words. English did not eliminate words, but kept different alternatives and uses them sometimes for exactly the same thing and sometimes for slightly different meaning. But the words continue to exist in the dictionary and in our heads, in your heads too, if you memorize them. Let's take a little look at the concept of words and how possibly there may be differences between how the English see a word and how Italians see a word. To start with, there are four, let's say, principal categories of words. One category is a noun. A noun is a word which describes or defines a thing or a person. Then there are verbs. Verbs are words which define or describe actions. Again, there are adjectives. Adjectives are words which give additional extra information about nouns. There are also adverbs. Adverbs are words which give additional or extra information about verbs, about actions. As an example, I'll cite a simple sentence with 5 words. Interesting books definitely help people. Interesting books definitely help people. Here, the first word, interesting, is an adjective. It gives information about the noun books. As I just said, books is a noun. It's in the plural form. 1 book, 2 books, with a final S. Interesting books. Help. Help is a verb. This is the action in this particular sentence. Interesting books help. I've forgotten one word in my original sentence. Interesting books definitely help. Definitely here is an adverb because it qualifies or gives additional information about the verb, the action, help. Interesting books definitely help. Interesting books definitely help people. Again, people is also a noun. It's the object of this particular sentence. It's in the plural form because people is the plural of one person. And so we have a perfect sentence. Interesting books definitely help people. Italians may express surprise because in this simple sentence there are no articles. Only words. In Italian, the Italian language sees nouns, for example, together with an article. So you would think always i libri, le persone, la gente. For English, it's not necessary to use an article. The word comes with no article. An article is used for different reasons. We don't have to say, or indeed we cannot say, the interesting books help the people. Definitely help the people. The is not necessary. If we use the article here in English and say something like the interesting books definitely help the people, we probably intend that there is a particular group of books, let's say 1,000 books in a library or in a shop. Some are interesting and some are not interesting. Then we can say the interesting books, in order to distinguish or identify them from books which are not interesting. The people, for example, the people are not people in general, but a particular group of people. So if we say something like the interesting books definitely help the people, possibly we are referring to a bookshop helping the population of a particular nation, but this is a particular meaning. Our general concept and our simple sentence remains valid for a general situation. Interesting books definitely help people. This will illustrate that English, to a certain extent, is simplified. Even though there are a lot of different terminologies, there are no obligatory articles and no distinctions of nouns, for example, between masculine and feminine nouns. Nouns are all the same. From this point of view, a book is the same as a magazine. But in Italian, il libro non è uguale una rivista. Il libro, la rivista. Remember that in the English language, the article is not an integral, obligatory part of the noun. This is something of a sore point for Italian students because it is difficult to understand exactly when and why we use an article. But in English, the function of the article, in particular the definite article, the function is to give a specific reference to a specific noun. A noun which is already identified and of interest to us. If I say something like, the cat sleeps on the bed, I am probably referring to my cat, or the family cat. In any case, a particular cat, not just any old cat. And the same for the bed. This would be my bed, or the only bed in the house, or a particular bed, but not just any old bed. Let me give you a couple of examples. In Italian you could say il libro è importante nell'educazione. Here, il libro is not a particular book, but the concept of the book in general. In English, we would say books are important in education. No articles, because it's a very general statement. Here's another sentence in English. This shop sells books. In Italian, questo negozio vende dei libri. This shop, because it is a particular shop. You are standing in front of the shop. It sells books. Books in general, not in this moment any particular book, but books in general. This shop sells books. Now pay attention. The fascinating book by Giancarlo Barbadoro on the ancient city of Rama is on sale here. Now we have an adjective, fascinating book, which is optional, additional information. But we also have an article, the book, because we are talking about a particular book, a special book. In this case, a book written by Giancarlo Barbadoro, which means here, which defines the book. Of all the books in the world, there is only one book by Giancarlo Barbadoro on the ancient city of Rama. So we have to say the book here. Okay, we've had a little exercise with some words, we've had a little explanation of some words, and we've had a look at the English article. Now it's time to stop, take a break, listen to some advertising and important information from Radio Dreamland, and I'll be right back.
Meditazione planetaria del martedì. Radio Dreamland si unisce all'iniziativa della meditazione planetaria del martedì sera, organizzata dal New Earth Circle. Ogni martedì sera alle 21 vi invitiamo a partecipare alla meditazione planetaria dedicata a Madre Terra e a tutti i suoi figli di qualsiasi specie. Ognuno può unirsi al cerchio planetario dei meditanti partecipando da soli o con i propri cari, per una testimonianza di pace e di spiritualità che abbracci tutto il pianeta, per un atto d'amore verso Madre Terra, per un mondo antispecista. Unitevi con noi in meditazione, seguendo la Nassinar, la musica del vuoto eseguita al flauto da Giancarlo Barbadoro. Ogni martedì alle 21. Per informazioni www.newearthcircle.org. Radio Dreamland. Share the vision.
And welcome back to English Planet, webcasting in English on Radio Dreamland from the heart of Piedmont in northern Italy. Right now, I would like to delve a little into history and legend, the world of the invisible, lost civilizations. Following in the footsteps and the spirit of the research of Giancarlo Barbadoro, Rodolfo Natero, and the Dreamland project, let's say, I am becoming more and more fascinated by ancient history and our personal origins. Being of Celtic origins and coming from the ancient kingdom of Cornwall, I started to delve again a little into legends and what it is, either legend or history. This is controversial, of where I come from in Cornwall. It seems that every time I do something like this, I come up with a surprise, and this week is no exception. If I look up the Italian word stupefacente in my Italian-English dictionary, I have a translation as amazing. Amazing. A-M-A-Z-I-N-G. Stupefacente, amazing, is a kind of sensation which you have, which is extreme emotion of surprise, but something of mental confusion. Something which is amazing leaves you extremely excited. Now this may be conjecture or maybe etymology, but the word amazing in English seems to be based on the word maze, M-A-Z-E. Maze in English is an equivalent, a synonym for labyrinth, which in Italian is labirinto. And this is somewhat basic to my story this evening. A particular form of maze or labyrinth It is quite commonly found in Cornwall, which is an ancient Celtic kingdom, and in Wales, which is a modern Celtic nation. These kind of mazes are sometimes carved on the ground, in open ground, in grass, or sometimes carved on rock. Apparently, many of them were fashioned in recent history, in the 1700s or 1800s, when it became a fashion. But many of them also are very much older, possibly 5,000 years old. They are part of folklore or legend history of these nations of Cornwall and Wales, and they are generally referred to in local custom as Troy towns, referring to the town, the well-known, world-famous city of Troy in Greece. It is rather curious that they have been given the same names or similar name in different locations around these Celtic areas of Britain. The connection between them is that the particular design of these mazes is similar, is identical in some cases to similar mazes or labyrinths found carved in Greece and around the Mediterranean. And in particular these bear a resemblance possibly to the ancient walls of the city of Troy, which apparently were constructed in such a disorganized possible fashion that they were difficult to penetrate. At the same time, don't forget that mazes or labyrinths are commonly considered to have a spiritual significance or a spiritual association, which is very important. Some years ago, I visited a site in Cornwall known as Rocky Valley. This is very close to the town of Tintagel, which is known as the home, the birthplace, the centre of King Arthur, the famous British king with the round table and loads of friendly knights. Legend or history, who knows? But a few kilometers away, Rocky Valley is what its name suggests, a valley running from the hills to the sea, which on each side has very high rock faces. And on these rock faces, at certain points, there are a number of these mazes, incredible, amazing mazes, carved, literally carved, long term into the face of the rock. While it may be true that some of these carvings may be recent, copied or imitated for some peculiar reason, but it is also true that some of them originally are 5,000 years old. Now, remember, keep this information in your brain for a short period. What I'm saying is that people, a civilization in Cornwall 5,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago were somehow in contact with a similar civilization in the Mediterranean, 2, 3, 4,000 kilometers distant. And they were involved in the same kind of practice of drawing or carving mazes and labyrinths on the ground and on rocks. According to official history, this is not possible. When I saw these illustrations, these rock carvings, I was mystified as to how this civilization existing in Cornwall could be so similar to distant civilization in the Mediterranean. Now, in the light of the last few days, I discover that there is a legendary connection between Cornwall and Troy. This week I was looking for some information concerning the existence of giants in the past in Cornwall. I had previously read and heard about giants, legends of giants in Cornwall, and in fact Cornwall is somehow famous for being a place of giants. Now I came across the name of Corineus, who was a legendary or historical giant in Cornwall. In fact, he was the founder of the Kingdom of Cornwall approximately 3,000 years ago. The very name of Cornwall is believed to have come from the name of Corineus. Corineus is renowned as being a giant. In some historical sources he is quoted as being 6 meters tall. He is famous for being a killer of other giants, and in particular being famous as a very important warrior. What is more curious is that he was not originally from Cornwall, although he was known to have killed many giants in Cornwall. He himself came from Troy. What a surprise! The tale goes like this. In Roman history or legend and in British history or legend, there was a figure known as Brutus of Troy. In Italian, Bruto di Troia, logically. This Brutus apparently escaped from Troy when Troy was attacked and destroyed. He lived for some time in Italy on the banks of the river Tiber, but then he returned to Greece for some time. He was obviously an important leader or warrior because he was followed by a group of other fellow countrymen, Trojans. After some time in Greece, however, he found that life in Greece was too dangerous for him, so he began to travel. He didn't travel alone, he traveled with a group, I don't know, an army, I suppose, of his countrymen, and traveled through the Mediterranean, into the Atlantic and onto the coast of France. Along the way he assembled more and more Trojans who were living in exile from Troy, including this giant warrior known as Corineus. Their final destination was an island which at the time was known as the White Island, otherwise Albion, which is the traditional ancient name and occasionally used even in modern times, name for Great Britain, for England. These exiled armed forces from Troy effectively invaded Cornwall. Even more than maybe 1,000 years before Julius Caesar tried to invade Britain. Apparently Brutus and Corineus were more successful than the Roman invasion. They arrived in a small town which is now known as Totnes, which is approximately 1 hour in a car from the place Exeter where I was born. This, at the time of Brutus, 3,000 years ago, was an important, in fact possibly the most important port in Britain, being on a large and important river, and then promptly managed to dominate the west of England and apparently all of the south of England as far as London. I say they were apparently more successful because in effect they have been attributed, or at least history or legend states that the name of Britain and the Britons derives from the name of Brutus, and Cornwall derives from the name of Corineus. and the original name of London, which was a city founded by Brutus and possibly also Corynaeus, was originally known as New Troy. Specific references to these two figures and this effective invasion are in the documents of a famous historian known as Geoffrey of Monmouth, whose history of British kings includes also all of the tales of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. For further reference to connections between Troy and Britain, we have three, let's say, mysteries. Mystery number one are these mazes carved in all over areas of Celtic Britain. Mystery number two is that in this unusual town of Totnes, which in modern times is still unusual, there is a stone embedded in the road, which is known as the Brutus Stone. The local legend says that this stone was where Brutus first stepped when he arrived in Britain, and he apparently claimed, "Here I stand and here I rest, and this city shall be named Totnes." You could say that this is all obviously nonsense and the people of Totnes are just crazy dreamers. But when you go to London, go to the Guildhall, which is the municipal centre of London, traditional heart and economic centre of immense importance in traditional London, and you find two statues of giants on display. One of these giants is effectively our friend Corynaeus. These two statues, the figures also bear the names of Gog and Magog, who are two figures which feature in cultures all around the world, referred to also in the Bible and in various different religious texts historically. Here the two figures are considered as traditional defenders of the city of London, but it is not known where exactly this tradition originated. This remains a mystery. I would just like to mention an interesting parallel before we close. Here we're looking at a connection between civilizations in Troy and civilizations in Cornwall and Britain 3,000 years ago. All that I have been speaking about is acknowledged in Britain as legend, but during my lifetime the legend of Troy has been confirmed by a gentleman known as Schliemann. The legend of Troy is now becoming the history of Troy, which by association means the legend of Brutus in Britain should also become history, not legend. But the parallel I have in mind comes from is partly here in Piedmont, where the tremendous work of research of Giancarlo Barbadoro has effectively begun to convert the legend of the city of Rama into local history, also here in Piedmont. A picture begins to form with these facts becoming history. We can gradually see an overall picture of a Celtic civilization which existed widely across Europe. This means that people living in modern days in Cornwall, in the south of Britain, in Wales, but also in Piedmont, can begin to see where their traditions, where their culture, where their past, where their origins really lie. The truth is out there, the search goes on. Time has run out for this evening. This is Nick Youldon signing off. Stay tuned to Radio Dreamland webcasting throughout the week, and I'll be back with English Planet next Monday. Have a good evening.